I know this will come as a huge surprise to you, but we were not always so wildly wealthy and famous and powerful as we are today. And there was a moment, actually, a crucial moment when we were taking our first steps out of obscurity, or as Chairman Mao would say, when we were poor and blank on Queen Street East, and we were trying for our first additional license in addition to City TV. It was the license that eventually became Much Music, and we needed a signifier, something that would put on us the stamp of credibility. And it was at that time that I bumped into Bernie Finkelstein, and he said, Bruce Cockburn. And we did one of our first really great concerts, and it set us off on a winning path, and I'll always remember their generosity. Bruce.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited. I hardly know what to do here. My mind hasn't been as expanded as it has over the last few days since the 60s. It's going to take me a month to sort it all out, but it's been an incredible, dizzying array of wonderful things. People talking about what they love, what they hate, what moves them. I love creation. Creation the noun, creation the verb. I love this planet, from its convected seas to its heat-balancing trees. I love the life in it, its energy. I love the sparks that rise from the fire of our human endeavor, even when that fire threatens to consume the systems that sustain it. One of the really exciting features of the last few days has been the reinforcement of the notion of wonder for me, and I'm sure it's true for you too. Alive with possibility, nose to this wind full of twinkling lights, trying to catch the scent of what's coming to be in this world of wonders. World of wonders. World of wonders. World of wonders. Saxophone slides through changes like a wet pipe dripping down my neck. Gives me a chill, sounds like danger, but I can't stop moving till I cross this sector of this world of wonders. World of wonders. very much. I write songs. That's what I do, but once in a while, the fact that I do that gets puts me in contact with people who ask of me something else, and because I've been around as long as I have and kind of become part of the scene, I guess the visibility that I have makes me attractive to people who have causes, who have issues that they need aired, and a lot of the time those causes and issues are things that are really worth airing, and they're not getting much coverage in the media. And I've been privileged to be part of some great adventures along these lines. I got involved with the cause of landmines in that way, which took me to Mozambique, to Cambodia, to Vietnam. I've met some incredible people. There's nothing quite there's no bonding experience quite like the one you get from standing in a minefield with someone. Especially when that someone's job is to find those mines and dispose of them. People don't last long in that job, as a rule. But it's a job that is incredibly necessary in a world where there are 100 million landmines in the ground at any one moment. In a country like Cambodia, where only a few years ago there was one landmine for every person, 10 million landmines. Now it's down to 8 million, so it's getting better. But the population of Cambodia still has to walk around and farm and carry on life as best they can in those circumstances. I've been involved in Native issues, Native North American issues, which is something that I'm proud of and grateful for, because I've learned a lot from the people I've worked with there. And a couple of years ago, I got asked to be part of a filmmaking exercise in Mali. We went there. I was sort of the eyes of the bozo Canadian wandering around in this film going, what's that? And the film was on the issue of desertification, which is an issue that confronts not only Mali, but the livelihoods of about 1 billion people in the world, all over the world, from Alberta to Africa to parts of Asia. And in the course of that exercise, I got to see some amazing things. We were working mostly with Dogon people who live in sort of the southeastern corner of Mali, in an area characterized by a thing called the Banjagara Escarpment, which is a 2,000-foot cliff that runs partly intact, partly in the form of mesas across this corner of Mali. And the Dogon, who are in some ways reminiscent of the Hopi, have traditionally been defensively oriented cliff dwellers, maintaining a degree of isolation from the nomadic tribes that would pass back and forth by virtue of living on top of these cliffs. When the French took over Mali late in the last century, they embarked on a campaign to move the Dogons down off the cliffs where they could control them better. And so now their villages are at the bottom, which is actually in some ways a blessing, because they're no longer plagued by the depredations of their nomadic neighbors, and they're closer to the water holes. They don't have to, the women, because that's who does it, don't have to walk 2,000 feet down that cliff to get water every day. One of the most amazing things that I saw there from a technological point of view, now this is desert. This is the bottom edge of the Sahara Desert, right? It looks vaguely like Arizona, for those of you who are familiar with that, but it's different. It's got different vegetation, and what animal life there is different. But the desert is growing. That's what desertification is. It's the increasing uselessness of land due to the unfortunate activities of people. Land that was formerly dry but usable becomes desert that you can't really live on. The Dogon are fighting a kind of rearguard action against this. They cut down all their trees a generation ago, I guess up to a generation ago. The old people can still remember when they were surrounded by forest, but there's no forest around now. You look up at these cliffs and it's rock. It looks gray. If you look really closely with binoculars, you can make out the stumps of trees sticking up that have also turned gray. There's no animal life around. There are birds. And there are people herding goats and carrying on agriculture in ways that, very ingenious ways that they've devised in dealing with this problem of desertification. But in the middle of all this, people in their traditional garb and herding goats and selling well water to their passing nomadic neighbors who herd cows and sheep. And there's this, next to the well, in this one particular place I'm thinking of, there's a fantastic, beautiful blue and silver set of solar panels that pumps the water up from the well. Nobody knows exactly how it got there. The government had something to do with it. A previous government had something to do with it. People came in, put it there, showed one guy how to maintain it, and left. You know, here's your water pump. The well will never go dry again. And it's been doing this now for about 10 years, as I was told. There are other villages that got the same treatment up and down this cliff face, but goats got in and climbed over the solar panels and wrecked them, or other things happened and they broke down and nobody could fix it. But this one was still working. So you get this incredible juxtaposition of ancient culture. It goes thousands of years back, and this incredibly high-tech, beautiful thing. We were sending emissions back here to Canada in the course of our filming on the internet through a satellite phone that we had with us. So we were kind of in that ballpark too. We're sitting there in the middle of the desert with this satellite phone pointed at the sky, talking to a guy in Canada who was our webmaster, who we were putting stuff out to schools who could follow the course of the trip and learn something about desertification as we went. But at the same time as all this is happening, because it's all drying out, people are leaving. Kids are leaving. You don't see very many people, say, between 18 and 25, 30 in the villages. It's older people and kids, little kids. As soon as people are old enough to leave, they go elsewhere. They looking for work because there's not enough growing potential in that land to support everybody or to give them enough to do. And there's no money, of course. And because of the colonial experience, they've got a sense of money that they learned from us and the Europeans. And you then have the spectacle of the cities becoming increasingly surrounded by settlements of people who've come in from the country. Bamako is not a big city. It's, I don't know, maybe the size of Markham, something like that, or Newmarket. But it's got these layers of kind of concentric shanty towns around it. And I felt like I was looking at the future. Because here is this high-tech artifact, this potsherd sitting there in the village that's still usable. The technology to maintain it comes from that city, although it doesn't come with any regularity. But the city is being choked by people leaving that same area because there is no money to sustain that kind of population growth. Right? And I thought it was a scary view of the future, and I've been encouraged actually by a lot of the things people have said here in these last few days, that this is not by any means the only possible vision of the future, but it was made very vivid to me, and I don't want to see it happen. And I'm not really only talking about desertification. It's only one of many things that we all need to confront, but man, if we don't confront them, they're going to bury us, and we'll be sitting there in cities that are choked in the same way, strangled economically by cancerous growth around the edges, looking out at a landscape beyond those borders that can't grow anything. And we wonder how a Palm Pilot tastes, So that's my pitch. Sometimes people say, journalists particularly like this question, because journalists are rightly a skeptical lot And they'll go, well, you've been you're involved with this cause or that cause or that cause, and and the tone is kind of, what kind of dilettante are you for getting involved in all these causes instead of like sticking with one and seeing it through? And well, I'm a mouthpiece. It's not my job to stick with anything particularly because I have no expertise in any of these things. I just know how to observe, and sometimes I get lucky enough to write about what I've observed and so on. But to me, it isn't a case of embracing a lot of causes anyway. There's only one cause. It has a couple of obvious faces. The cause is life. And the two faces that I think of most often are how people interact with each other and how we interact with the planet that sustains us. And those two questions are, of course, closely related. That's the cause. And everything we can do that serves that cause is a positive step. You don't have to get caught up in wondering what to address. Address the things that are in your heart, because somebody needs it. This is a kind of a little vision. It comes from a few years ago, actually, maybe 20 years ago. A vision of creation. It's called Creation Dream. Centered on silence, counting on nothing. I saw you standing on the sea. And everything was dark except for sparks the wind struck from your hair. Sparks that turn to wings around you, angel voices mixed with seabird cries, fields of motion surging outward, questions that contain their own replies. shooting everywhere. Lines of power bursting outward along the channels of your song. Mercury waves flashed under your feet, shots of silver in the shell pink dawn. Thanks for listening.